Hi, I'm Dr. James Meschino. Viagra for erectile dysfunction, is it safe? Well, what is Viagra and how does it work, and is it safe to use? Well, by now most people have heard about drugs like Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra. And these drugs, of course, are used to treat erectile dysfunction. The questions are, how do they work? Are they safe? What are the possible side effects that might occur? And are there any natural alternatives that people could use if they're not ready to use drugs like this so quickly? So, with erectile dysfunction, it's defined as a consistent inability to obtain and maintain an erection for satisfactory sexual relations. Some people have, or some men have, complete erectile dysfunction, which is the inability to have penetrative relations at any stage. So that's sort of like complete impotence, not being able to have an erection to have any penetration at all. How common is the problem? Well, surprisingly, 50% of men by the age of 50 have some degree of erectile dysfunction. It may not be complete, but they may start to complain about not being the man they used to be. And by 60 years old, 75% of men have some degree of erectile dysfunction. And so you say, why is that happening? Well, the aging process. Hormones are dropping. There's less sensitivity to the genital area because nerve cells are dying off. Blood vessels might be getting clogged up. People may have diabetes, psychosocial problems, stress factors. These things sort of culminate into one clinical picture. So this is why drugs like Viagra have become so popular, because the problem really is quite widespread. So the medical treatments of things like Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, how do those drugs work? So here's how Viagra works exactly. In order to have an erection, under normal arousal, the blood vessels in the genitalia secrete nitric oxide. Nitric oxide then helps to create a molecule called cyclic GMP, and it's cyclic GMP that actually causes the opening up of the blood vessels, or dilation of the blood vessels, so more blood will flow to the genitalia, and that's how you get an erection, actually, of course, the engorgement of blood. And so what Viagra does is it inhibits the enzymes that would normally break down the cyclic GMP. That's how it's working. So if you don't break down the cyclic GMP, then you maintain it, then the dilation lasts longer and the erection is firmer because there's more blood there and can last longer. So, that sounds wonderful. The problem is that the dilation effect, the opening of the blood vessels, doesn't seem to occur just in the genitalia, that it can have inadvertently, it can cause it to occur in other blood vessels in the body. So if a lot of blood vessels open up all at once, your blood pressure will drop suddenly. When that happens, the heart has to start reacting, and sometimes it'll start to flutter and go into fibrillation, and can lead to some cardiovascular complications. And so no one really knew, how dangerous it was. But at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, they did a study of sort of Viagra-related adverse events, particularly related to cardiovascular problems. And they published their results in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology in February of 2000, in case you want to go and read the study for yourself. What they did is they looked at adverse events, particularly cardiovascular events, related to the use of Viagra between April 14th, 1998 and May 21st, 1999. So they found 1,473 individuals that had adverse reactions after using Viagra that were related to cardiovascular issues, primarily. And some of the adverse events included sudden death, as well as heart attacks and heart arrhythmias. Congestive heart failure developed. Men had strokes, sudden drop in blood pressure, fainting. So all these are vascular type problems. The key findings were these. The majority of deaths were due to cardiovascular events, as I mentioned, mostly occurring in men who were younger than 65 years old. The average age was 61 years old, so men who are really not that old. And these men had no previous history or any indication that they had any cardiovascular problems. They had no previous history of heart disease or any major risk factors for heart disease. That's what was amazing. 70% of deaths were associated with the 50 milligram dose, and 2/3 of the deaths occurred within 45 hours after taking the drug Viagra. That was sort of the common feature. And most of the deaths occurred in men who were not taking nitrate drugs like nitroglycerin. See, originally, when they created Viagra, they said, you shouldn't really take it with nitrate drugs because they're already opening up the blood vessels, and so Viagra would just amplify that effect and could lead to a precipitous drop in blood pressure and all these, secondary vascular events. But only 12% of all these adverse events occurred in men who were taking nitrates. So, 88% of the adverse events occurred in men who were not using nitrate drugs. And there's other side effects, of course, with Viagra. The most common can be headache, facial flushing, upset stomach, temporary bluish vision or blurred vision or sensitivity to light, something we call photosensitivity. Sometimes some loss of vision, loss of hearing, of course. You probably have seen this in some of the ads that sort of warn you about these side effects. It's only Viagra of all those drugs that actually creates the color vision problems. And if Viagra is taken with a high-fat meal, it impairs the absorption of the drug to a certain degree. Normally, the maximum plasma level would be reached in 1 hour, and the total effect would last for about 4 hours with Viagra. Whereas with Cialis, the half-life is about 17 hours. But all these drugs, Viagra, Levitra, Cialis, all these drugs come with some risk associated with due to cardiovascular alterations in physiology. As a result of this, some of the medical doctors that I know personally are reluctant to recommend these drugs to men who have some erectile dysfunction, and certainly would never take these drugs themselves, not as the first choice. And so you say, what else does medicine have to offer? Well, sometimes medical doctors will recommend testosterone replacement therapy to bring virility back. But with testosterone replacement, my concern, and the concern of other doctors, is that if you have some prostate cancer cells already in your prostate gland, and many men do after the age of 50, and the cancer's not really bothering them, it's not at a clinically significant level yet, putting testosterone on it could be like putting fertilizer on those cells, and they start to grow and divide and multiply and spread, and now you have clinically important prostate cancer. I'll tell you something. Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in men, so I'm not crazy about testosterone replacement therapy. I will tell you this. One of the most underappreciated treatments for erectile dysfunction to any degree is there are natural herbal agents that have been proven in clinical studies to work that are completely safe and very effective. And when you get a combination of these herbs together in a single supplement, they can increase blood flow to the genitalia, which is what you want, increase sensitivity of the genitalia for easier arousal, and actually increase libido and sexual desire. And these herbs actually even help women reach orgasm more easily, increase sensitivity and arousal and libido. So it's for both men and women who are suffering from any level of sexual performance issues or lack of libido. There are clinical studies to prove this, and also the safety is known. Now, I will tell you this also. There are some supplements that, even though they work, I consider them to be dangerous. So you have to know what you're doing. So what I've done is I've explained all of this in a little e-booklet that's available right here, and you should really download it. It's called Effective Natural Remedies for Sexual Performance and Libido, a guide for men and women. It's an interesting booklet. All the scientific references are there so you know exactly what you're doing, and you'll know how to use some of the natural things in a way that will give you the best outcome at the right dosage and standardized grade. So you should really download that ebook now if you have any concerns about sexual performance. Now remember, at meschinohealth.com you can also see my other research papers, other videos I've created, other resources and downloads, footage from my live professional seminars, in fact. And all of my materials have the scientific references there, so you know you're getting sound scientific information on any health subject that you're looking for. The idea is to help you lead a long, healthy, functional life. So you really should make meschinohealth.com an ongoing, reliable resource for health and wellness information for both you and your family members. Thanks so much for watching.